Hi guys, Rahu here. So a lot of you actually enjoy the last perfect Lattice tier list I made. So today we're going to do an updated version. So this time is from an endgame speedrun perspective. So keep in mind the priority will look a little bit different compared to the story or just casual play. So as usual, we'll be ranking every SSR into 4 categories, 5 categories to be exact, which is max all, and then max 2, max 1, 0 still strong, and don't. Okay, so for max all means the all 3 circle you want it to be max, and then for max 2 is either going to be probably S1 and S3 or probably S2 and S3, depends on the enemy's need. And then for max 1 is only one specific skill to be max, and then 0 still strong means if you want you can go for max out as well, but you don't need any Lattice to actually make her or him actually very useful and strong. Don't is, I don't think that it's actually worth to invest Lattice on that specific unit on PvE content. Okay, so and just to add, I've been making a lot of speedrun and PvE content lately. You can see all my videos about Etheria Restart or mostly are about PvE and probably speedrun and consistent run, all this thing. So I think my point of view on this unit is very accurate for endgame players, and now let's start into it. So the first one is going to be Liliam. Liliam definitely is worth the max all because she, after the buff, is actually one of the best single target DPS in the game, and she can actually help you conquer in a lot of PvE, especially in speedrun, because all thanks to the multiplier increase, all thanks for her self buff, and also when the target is a boss, the final damage increased by 50%. This buff here makes Liliam instantly became a PvE single target bossing, and she's actually one of the best single target DPS now in the game. So if you really want a DPS that can actually cover most of your PvE content bossing wise and also speedrun it, Liliam is actually worth the investment. The additional stats here you can get for Liliam with the attack here, the attack stats, and then the S2 here will grant you a little bit of crit rate more, and then for the S3 here will give you a little bit more speed, and also the multiplier, it actually helps a lot. The S2 here is after your S3 you want to synergize into the S2 damage, so the S2 damage here is also important. Overall, you max out Liliam Lattice is totally worth it. There's no Lattice actually wasted into it, so Liliam is worth the max all. Then for Gatsby here, it's really depending on your thoughts. Okay, in my opinion, I don't like Gatsby. I like Gatsby's kit, but I don't like investment Lattice on Gatsby in terms of PvE content, because Gatsby is a very strong AoE type DPS. So if we look at his kit here, it's actually very strong. You can apply vulnerable, and then you crit, you get 3 meter push as well, and then it's an AoE 390% damage multiplier. S2 here is a debuff extension with an AoE multiplier as well, and then most importantly the S1 here, for every 1 debuff on an enemy, Gatsby damage to them is increased by 10%. Basically, the more debuff the enemy, the more damage Gatsby is able to do. And then if the main target, which is the target on the boss, that is actually able to increase a 30% and stacking up to 6 times, so it's a 180% damage deal from the passive. So in terms of AoE damage wise and in a long battle, Batsby is actually able to do a lot of damage in terms of AoE. But most of the time when you're doing in bossing content, so if we look at like threshold here, you want element advantage as well to actually trigger it. So Aurora is the only content you can actually fully utilize Batsby damage, because if we look at speed clear here, we can have Batsby at the top place. Alright, but then if we look at other content, let's say like Doki Doki, Batsby is still not able to be the fastest speed run because we have Rilmocha here, and then for Taimat here, you're not able to use him a lot, because if you look at the speed clear time, no one is using because you're at elemental disadvantage, and then most of the content you don't really need AoE damage. So if you look at Rankakutsu, you look at Shadow Flame Hoyan, Cheryl, and Nikonana, they don't really need a lot of AoE content, okay, in terms of damage AoE wise. So the only content I can actually think of is Infinity Train, but we have Xiada here that actually does better because of the Infinity cooldown reduction, and that's actually not too much of content to make Gatsby actually worth investing so many Lattice, because you like 111 Lattice is not going to work off Gatsby. You need like probably 155 or probably 515 to actually make him work and shine in content. So in my own opinion, in terms of endgame PvE, I will not invest into Batsby. Okay, so if you really like him, if you want him to actually shine in AoE content, then you can actually invest him, and probably he will worth at max 2 or max all. But in my opinion, I will not Lattice him at all. Like, I have so many other unit I want to Lattice, and once I have other AoE type of DPS, I won't Lattice him at all. Okay, he probably can help me fast forward a few seconds for Aurora, but I don't think that's actually worth the investment in my own account. Okay, in terms of like content wise, at least for now. Alright, then the next one is going to be Ninfoniel. So for Ninfoniel here, in my opinion, it's either going to be 0 still strong, because you don't really need to skill her up to make her OP, or probably max 1 somewhere here, but I will put her at 0 still strong, because if we look at her kit is actually pretty complete as like without any Lattice. Like, if you Lattice the S1, doesn't bring too much of a value, it's just giving you resist up and you don't even need the multiplier. The S2 here gives you a little bit more healing, but if your PvE content can actually speed clear, or you have other healer, then you don't really need to rely on the heal here. You are mostly pulling for Ninfoniel is because of the S3. The S3 here gives you amount of shield, gives you attack up, gives you immunity, and gives you this Rhyme Bloom. So the only thing, if you really want to skill up, is for her S3 that increase the shield amount, the shields, how thick the shield is, and also the attack boost. So without the skill up here, you probably get 40% and 25%, so makes it into 65% attack up instead of 80% in total. So if you want to skill up, then you can go for S3, which is giving you more attack buff for the team, which is what you are using Ninfoniel for, or you don't really need skill up at all. That's my own perspective. So in my opinion, I will put her around like max 1 to 0 still strong, but overall 0 still strong I will say is where she will stay at, because she don't really need the S3 to be max if you can keep on maintaining the shield, like for using Codex of Magic for example. So in my opinion, 0 still strong. Okay, then the next one is Massiah. So Massiah here, I will put Massiah at max all. So you can think Massiah and Gatsby is kind of like the same kind of unit but different. Massiah have AoE damage, Batsby have AoE damage, but Massiah is an elemental of light, which is constant, right? And she's able to use in every single content, even though it's not able to speed run most of the cases. But in terms of, are you able to use him in every content? Yes, he's able to do that. And he can actually cleave a lot of the bossing as well. So in my opinion, I'll put him max all, just actually worth it a lot. And not to mention, not just PvE, PvP, you're also able to use Massiah here. So it's actually a very, very good investment. Alright, then the next one is going to be Taimat. So for my case here, Taimat I will recommend at Dawn, because at Taimat, right, there's not really a lot of content for you to use Taimat. Probably you use Taimat as Doki Doki when you want to sustain just to clear Doki Doki safely and you don't care about the clear speed time. But in terms of when you reach endgame, when you are taking a look at speed run, then no one is actually using Taimat at all. So for endgame PvE, there's actually no usage for Taimat to actually go for. So I will go for don't skill up. Okay, then for Ling Luo here. Ling Luo here, I will say at minimum you want to go for max 1. If you can, you want to go for max 2. But overall, max 1 will do. And the skill up for Ling Luo here you want to go for is actually the S1. Because you want Ling Luo S1 here to trigger the passive, the Rockstar passive here, so you actually get 2 turns of the Will Prayer whenever you trigger the heal, so you can apply more buff on the target and then trigger more recovery buff as well, and then you are able to clear Aurora. Okay, a lot of you, when you want to clear Aurora, Ling Luo S1 is actually needed. Not to mention that the S1 here gives you additional speed. It will help you in PvE and PvP as well. If you want to go for, you can go for S3 as well to increase more healing effect and the cooldown reduction. This is a very good skill up when your healing effect is not enough and you want to go for speed run. You want to clear Aurora very fast. S3 it will be helpful, but is it a mandatory? It's not really that needed, because you can go for like kill set with other kind of combination to increase your healing effect. Then you don't really need the S3 skill up. Okay, so overall, max 1 is the minimum. If you want, you can go for max 2, but overall I will rank her at max 1 is where you go for. Then for Doki Doki here, I will say 0 still strong, because in a lot of content, you want to use Doki Doki, you don't need to skill up, then Doki Doki can already help you, right? But if you really want, and if you have the additional Lattice, you can go skill up for Doki Doki. So whenever you are fighting, like let's say you are fighting a Sharon, which is one of the most effective content to use Doki Doki, you don't need any skill up to make Doki Doki strong in Sharon, because whatever she's going to do is already in her kit. The skill up just makes her better and probably able to stack up more stack of backup, more stack of data stream, more turn meter push, all these things. But overall, the bread and butter in the kit there is already there. You don't really need the skill up here to make her work. So overall, I will say Doki Doki doesn't need the skill up because it's already working perfectly fine. But if you want more turn meter push, you want the backup to trigger more effect and more stack as well, then you want to go for the skill. And if you really want to go for it, then you want to go for S1 and S3. But S3 have the higher priority for the turn meter push. Alright, then the next one is Lilith. So Lilith here, I will say don't, is because you don't really need skill up on her. And there's actually no content for you to actually use Lilith here. Lilith is more towards a PvP unit. So in terms of PvE, you don't really see any usage at all. So I will say don't. Then the next one is going to be Mia. So Mia, I will say at max 1, like a lot of content, especially in Aurora, or the content you want a healer slot, especially in Aurora as well. If you don't have Ling Luo, but you will have Ling Luo, but if you don't want to use Ling Luo, you want to skill up Mia. Mia is actually a very good replacement in terms of healer, and Mia is also very strong in Tormentor as well, and also a decent unit in Rengokusu as well. So Mia here, if you want to skill up the S3 to increase more healing effect instead of 20%, you are able to go for 30% of your own HP heal. And not to mention with the reduced 1 turn of cooldown here, this 1 turn of cooldown is actually able to snowballing for the whole content. Because you are able to heal, you're able to reduce all animals and shell skill cooldown, and also extend their buff, and also reduce the debuff duration. So this S3 here is not just heal, it also brings a lot of value into your content. So if you want to really use Mia, I will say go for max S3. It's actually going to help you a lot in terms of healing and also the skill rotation. Okay, then the next one is going to be Tsukiyomi. So Tsukiyomi, I'm going to say at max 1, because if you're using Tsukiyomi, it's mostly going to be the speed run. You want to turn meter push them and also buff them. So the S3 here, you want the turn meter push effect to be 100%. So it makes things a lot more easier whenever you're building speed run. So if you look at my speed run content video, you'll notice a lot of them are actually using Tsukiyomi instead of Lily, because Lily gives you consistent. Usually is consistent and fast, while Tsukiyomi is about burst and fast. So it's either your team gonna be losing, or Tsukiyomi will just turn meter pushing your best DPS unit and let them get the attack up buff and speed up buff and keep able to nuke them instantly. So for Tsukiyomi here, you want to max the S3. The other skill doesn't need to be maxed, but S3 is very needed for the speedrun content. Then for Mio here, I will say 0 still strong, but usually when you're using Mio, you are using in Nico Nana and Doki Doki. Other content, there's not really too much of usage for Mio. But overall, if you really want to skill up, you can go skill up Mio S1 and S3. But overall, you doesn't need any skill up. The Mio is already able to turn meter control them and also apply the buff for your team. Because if you look at Mio kit here, the S3, everything is about chance, alright, the RNG, and you skill it up, then it will apply more chance for Mio. But if you don't care about the RNG chance, if you just want to use her, she's actually doing perfectly fine for what she's actually doing, like control unit or turn meter unit, she's already doing perfectly fine. Right, then the next one is Heinrich. I will say 0 still strong, because if you're using Heinrich here, usually you're using Heinrich just because of the Dispel. And the Dispel RNG kit is actually decent enough and you don't really need to skill it up. And usually you use Heinrich, like for example in Cage Rumble, or for example in other content that you want to dispel and also apply a lot of different kind of aggressive type debuff. Like for example, the last word here is aggressive type debuff, because you are able to increase your critical hit and also crit damage amount to the target. So it's a very good bossing unit, especially in Cage Rumble, or for example in other bossing content you want to speed run, then Heinrich is actually one of the best unit you want to go for. So but you don't need to skill up. The skill up here is mainly for additional multiplier, increase the crit damage, which is for Heinrich damage output, and then the duration of the block. But overall, if you're just doing for speed run, Heinrich is not really that needed to be skill up. Then the next one is going to be Freya. So for Freya here, I will say 0 still strong as well. Overall, I'm using my Freya without any skill up and she's still doing perfectly fine. Anything she's actually doing now and providing into your team doesn't need skill up to apply. Alright, the chance of applying Nightmare is actually good enough. The damage multiplier doesn't matter too much. The damage boost here comes in handy, but overall doesn't change too much of a kit. Like, I will save the Lattice to invest on other unit instead of Freya. So for Freya here, overall, I'm still using her, but doesn't need any skill up at all. She's actually doing perfectly fine. Then for Beyontin here, you want to go for max 1, is especially you're doing for speedrun content, you want Beyontin S2. The S2 here to go for level 4 to increase the reduced cooldown CD to 2 turns. So whenever Beyontin casts the S2 on your DPS unit, the DPS unit here will instantly reduce the cooldown by 2 turns. Usually is able to rotate their turn very fast to let them able to nuke the target another time. Not to mention Beyontin here able to apply attack up and crit damage up, which is the two massive aggressive buff for your team. For example, attack up, crit damage up, and then you can just, like other unit, apply crit rate up, or for example turn meter push like Tsukiyomi, then they're able to synergize with the DPS to actually nuke a very big damage. So Beyontin here, you want to go for max 1, but only max Beyontin S1 will do. Okay, then for Rosa here, I will go for max all. Yes, I will go for max all. So why? It's because even though Rosa, if we compare, like Rosa is a very strong AoE DPS for the S3, and most importantly is the S1 is able to trigger a lot of assists and is a very consistent trigger proc, because as long as you're able to apply the debuff, a Blade Heart Bloom on the target, then as long as you crit, then Rosa is able to keep casting S1 to turn meter down the target and also do damage at the same time. It's a multi-hit as well. So overall, you are gonna see Rosa in a lot of speedrun contests, especially when you're pairing Rosa with Khloros, especially you're using Rosa in Union bosses or Cage Rumble as well. Rosa is actually one of the best blue DPS and also very consistent damage output as well. So probably Rosa and like Batsby can actually debate like who actually needed the Lattice more, but why I will actually put Rosa higher tier is because Rosa also have single target DPS, have multi-hit, and also doesn't rely on debuff. Yeah, she relies on debuff like Big Heart Bloom, but she doesn't rely on the enemy to have debuff. Like unlike Batsby here, the main DPS output and what makes Batsby show shine is because the condition of Batsby needed is like the debuff, and also the elemental have to be countered. While Rosa doesn't have that much condition. All you need to do, make Rosa able to land a Blade Heart Bloom and she will do the DPS output. So I will put Rosa at the max all instead for Batsby, but that's my own pick. Okay, then the next one is definitely not going to be D-Thing because it's SSR. It's going to be Yeli. So Yeli here is also max all thanks to her elemental advantage. Like Constant here, able to conquer in every single content. There's no disadvantage moment for Yeli. And Yeli have a very strong AoE damage output as well. They have self buff, crit rate up, defend down, and a very consistent S1 damage as well. If your RNG is good, it might actually able to trigger more S1 as well. But as usual, she's a very Lattice hungry unit, something like Massiah. But if you really train up Massiah, then you don't have to care about Yeli. If you really train up Yeli, then you don't have to care about Massiah. Or if you already train up Liliam, then you can actually ignore Yeli and Massiah for PvE content. You can just pick one poison and they will actually help you clear and also speedrun most of the PvE content as well. Then the next one is going to be Lily. Lily is the unit you want to max 2 because you want the Lily S1 first, definitely for the twin trick here for the 100% chance of assist. Then the other one is the S2 here for the turn meter pushing through the twin trick. So whenever you S1 here, your twin trick is able to turn meter push more, and not to mention the crit damage duration as well is actually very good. So for Lily here, you want the max 2 to maximize the value. Alright, then the next one is going to be Holden. So Holden here, I will go for max 1. To be honest, Holden can actually go for 0 still strong, But most cases when you're using Holden, especially in PvE, and especially when you're doing speedrun stuff, is because of Holden Dispel. So if you want to have a higher RNG chance for Holden, and also Holden is actually very good in a lot of PvE content as well, so you want to go for the S3 to have a higher chance to dispel the buff like immunity on the target, and also apply attack down and resist down. This is actually very good. So why Holden actually needed a higher chance of dispel, because it only hits 2 hit and you want to resist down. Most of the time this resist down actually helps a lot, especially let's say you're pairing Holden with Dina. Dina will actually help you, the resist down will actually help Dina to apply the debuff a lot more easier. So you want a higher chance to apply the debuff. So overall, Holden, I will say max 1, and you want to go for the S3 to be max. Then the next one is going to be Rahu. So for Rahu here, I will say don't. Is because in terms of like speedrun, like when you're using Rahu for speedrun content, then you will know that it's not suitable. Okay, Rahu is not going to be speedrun, but Rahu is actually good for PvE content when you know you can't beat them and you want a very tanky DPS unit to slowly stall the whole content. Then Rahu is actually a pretty good pick. Then if you really want to say where Rahu is actually able to use at, then I will say Rahu will be good at Insync Echoes to actually store the unit down. But overall, I will not recommend you to actually skill up Rahu if you are just playing for PvE content. Overall, it doesn't bring too much of a value, but Rahu is a very strong PvP unit, so for PvP it will be a different case, but for PvE it's not needed. Okay, then for Rilmocha here is max 1, because you want the Rilmocha S3 to do a more higher splash damage. So if you are using Rilmocha for Doki Doki speedrun, then Rilmocha S3 is a must. It's a must upgrade for the splash damage here to able to splash the whole team. So in terms of speedrun, Rilmocha actually does a very good job. Then the next one is Fuqiu. So Fuqiu here, I will say 0 still strong. You don't need any skill up for Fuqiu, and Fuqiu already does the job very well. As usually you want to use Fuqiu when you want a healer. Okay, if you don't want to use Ling Luo, you don't want to use like Mia, then you can use for Fuqiu. So Fuqiu is the green healer here, Mia is the red one, Ling Luo is the blue one. So for Fuqiu, very good healer for a lot of content. Not to mention Fuqiu also gives you turn meter pushing as well, and doesn't need skill up. Everything in her kit is already there. The like the heal, the shield, everything is there. Just that if you want a thicker amount of shield, you want a thicker amount of heal, then you can go for the skill up for the S3. But overall, Fuqiu is actually able to compete with other healer in terms of healing effect without any skill up at all. But it's more about when she get hit or your unit get the action. So it's a consistent slowly healing, but if you want to like burst healing amount, you still want to consider about Ling Luo and Mia. Okay, the next one is going to be Celine. So Celine here, usually you only use Celine for Shadow Flame Hoyan, and it's doing a good job, but overall you don't really want to skill up Celine at all for PvE content. I will say Celine is actually like 0 still strong, or probably don't somewhere here, but I will not even consider Celine to skill up at all for PvE content, so I will put at don't. Because all these units here 0 still strong, you can actually consider to skill up them. They will help you in PvE content, but overall, I don't think Celine is a unit that you want to skill up at all for PvE content, because she only shines in one specific content, which is Shadow Flame Hoyan. Then the next one is going to be Borge here. I will say don't as well. Like, they are the tank unit, they are the bruiser unit that's actually very good in PvP, but for PvE, there's not really too much of a usage for them to actually shine. Okay, so for Borge here, it's also don't. Then the next one is going to be Helkid. So the Helkid one, you can probably debate like between max 1 for the S3 for the shield amount, but or probably 0 still strong. But overall, I will say Helkid is for don't as well, because overall, there's not really much of content to actually needed Helkid for the shield amount to tank the damage down. That's not really too much of a content, so I will say don't. Okay, then for the next one, it's going to be Hoyan. So Hoyan here is a very good speedrun unit only for Taimat. Do you really want to skill her up? Not really. But if you want to make her actually shine in Taimat, then Hoyan is actually needed for the max 2. But like, do you really want to skill up Hoyan just for one specific content? Not really, right? So I will say Hoyan is kind of like the Gatsby situation. I will say don't, because like Gatsby is going to be very strong in Aurora. specifically Aurora. Then for Hoyan here is very strong for Teramaton and specifically for Teramaton, so I will put Hoyan at don't because it doesn't bring too much of a value for PvE speedrun clearing, so I would say don't. But she's a very strong PvP unit, so if you are a PvP player, you definitely want to consider for Hoyan. Then the next one is going to be Khloros. So Khloros here would be max 2, which is your max S2 and S3, and Khloros is actually one of the best speedrun unit as well. Khloros can actually debate like for max or as well, it's somewhere here. Probably going for max or. Okay, you can debate like you want to go for max 2 or max or, but Khloros is actually one of the best DPS units, single target DPS unit for speed running as well. Khloros is actually able to speed run every single bosses. I also made a video about Khloros speed running them. The attack up will be helpful here from this skill up here, the attack up here, the attack percentage will be helpful. The S2 skill up here for the chain lock here is also going to be helpful. Most importantly is the S3 here for the Doom Toe. It will do a massive amount of damage. So in terms of speedrun, if you have Khloros trained up, Khloros can actually help you solo every single Inferno bosses, especially a combination with Rosa as well. It's one of the best speedrun unit. Okay, but after you have Khloros and Rosa built up, then you don't really need to build the other DPS unit in terms of PvE, and not to mention Khloros is also a very good unit for Cage Rumble, especially for the bossing. Okay, then the next one is a big Kloss. So Kloss here can be 0 still strong. If you really want to skill up, you can consider for max 2. But overall, Kloss doesn't need the skill up to be strong. If you look at Kloss here, right, if you really want to skill up, it's the S1 and S3. S3 here is for the cooldown reduction and also for the chance to apply the debuff. But overall, without the skill up, the chance to apply defend down and speed down is actually decent enough. Then for the S1 here gives you a little bit more effect value for the hack in here, so it's something for min-maxing. But if you're just using Kloss here to apply the defend down and speed down and also the hacking progress, it's actually good enough for majority of the content. You don't really need to skill up Kloss at all, so I will say 0 still strong, but you can debate like Kloss here can go up to max 2. Then Lian here just don't. You skill up Lian just for the mission, after that you want to reset. Then for Nahor here, I will say don't as well. Like in terms of AoE CC, we have like other battle unit that can actually apply a more consistent control as well. In terms of defense break, with other unit can apply defense break more consistent as well. And the dispel here is only for single target. It's pretty good for the dispel, like if you really need another dispeller unit, but because of the elemental and because of only one hit to have a 70% chance, it makes Nahor not really that consistent. Like if you like why Holden is actually a better unit in terms of dispelling, because Holden have 2 chance, 2 hit and 50-50, while Nahor here is actually 1 chance and 70%. Okay, so Holden here is an AoE dispel as well, and Nahor is only 1 dispel. So overall, in terms of dispeller, Nahor is not really that good. In terms of CC and defense break, is not really that good as well. So I will say no skill up. So Veronika here, I will say don't as well in terms of speed run. If you really want, you can scale up to max 1 is the chance to dispel. If you don't have other dispeller unit, and if you really need one, Veronika here can help you dispel with a higher chance here, 80%, but only 1 chance, which is 1 hit. So overall, in terms of dispelling, Holden does better, Heinrich does better, the Viper does better as well. So Veronika is also not really that needed in terms of Lattice skill up, so I will say don't. Then for S.Sania here, I will say max 1, because if you are doing DOT team, S.Sania S1 is actually very mandatory to apply the DOT for 2 turns. Okay, you want the skill up here to have a 100% chance of applying DOT, and then the level 5 here to increase the DOT passive turn to 2 turns. It's actually a mandatory skill up for S.Sania. So if you want to use S.Sania, S1 is needed. It's one of the best DOT unit in the game. So you really want the max 1 for S.Sania to apply the debuff consistently. Then the last one is going to be Xiada. So even though Xiada actually fell off a bit, because usually we use Xiada is because Aurora, you want to do long run, then Xiada is actually pretty good. You want to do for Doki Doki is also good as well. You want to do for Niko Nana and Rekokusu is also very strong. But most importantly, Xiada is actually the queen of Infinity Train when they actually let Xiada to go in, because Xiada is actually able to keep spamming the S3 and also cooldown reduce on her S3. So for Xiada here, you want to skill up the S2 and also for the S3. The S2 here is because you want to increase the stats, which is, let me see, here, more attack boost and also more crit damage boost as well for each flame, and the S3 here is for the damage output and also for the defense break amount. I will consider resetting Xiada after when there's actually a reset event coming soon, because I actually able to clear the content now and speedrun the content now without using Xiada, even though I'm still using Xiada in Infinity Train. But I don't really think that the Xiada with the 8 Lattice is actually worth it to one specific content, which is Infinity Train. I might actually consider to reset Xiada, but for now Xiada is actually still the queen of Infinity Train. If you look at the leaderboard, basically or almost every team here you will see Xiada, because she's just that good, especially for wave content, especially when the content is coming to wave content. Xiada is the queen. But if you don't really care about Infinity Train and if you have other unit, for example like Yeli, for example like Massiah, then you don't really need Xiada anymore, then you can reset for Xiada. But overall Xiada, I will say, is still worth the max 2 value, all because the priority for Infinity Train. So, and that's all for the updated Perfect Lattice SSR tier list from an endgame speedrun point of view. So hopefully this actually helps you decide who really worth your Lattice right now, because Lattice is actually the most valuable material in the game. So of course some placement might actually change, depends on your own account and playstyle as well, also what content you are facing currently. But let me know in the comment section who you think deserve a higher tier or probably a lower tier. I would love to hear what is your own take, because this is just, everything is just based on my perspective. Alright, so if you find this helpful, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more Etheria Restart content, especially my speedrun and more PvE guides as well. Thanks for watching and see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Special thanks for the direct support on the YouTube membership. So for the benefactor of R tier, which is Trencan, thank you so much for your support. And for the supporter or patron of R tier, which is Louis Schneider, Agni, Wang Tamer, Ziggy, Kamaruki, Sunwaltz, Rimu, Chani, Antonio Winterspoon, First Law, D&D, thank you so much for your support. And special thanks to the Super Thanks MVP, HMZ Riggs, thank you so much for your support. Special thanks for the direct support on the live stream super chat for the latest tag. Thank you so much for Code Wardeners, Calamity, Agni, Love Fatima, Fatima Little Underwear, Bloods, Riku Fred, Chani. Thank you so much for your support.